It is June 1940. The sudden fall of France sends shockwaves across the globe. The allegedly invincible French army is defeated within 6 weeks. Britain stands alone, facing the might of Nazi Germany's war machine. Dunkirk's beaches offer a dramatic photo of the situation. British soldiers wade through the water, fighting for their lives as the German forces close in on them behind. In the skies, Royal Air Force RAF planes battle Luftwaffe bombers set on eliminating the men pinned down. James Nick Nicholson, a 26-year-old squadron leader at the time, watches a fleet of small boats, fishing craft, yachts, even tugs cross the English Channel to rescue the stranded army. "It was incredibly moving and touching," he later said. "Just normal people making their way into danger to bring our boys home." This heroic effort saved 338,000 men, but they were forced to leave behind a huge amount of equipment. Scores of tanks, thousands of guns, and numerous vehicles were left behind, the entire arsenal of an army left on French ground. In London, Winston Churchill, the new Prime Minister, is faced with a desperate situation. For the first time since 1066, an invasion of England is imminent. Over the narrow channel, only 22 miles wide, the German army is marshaled. Adolf Hitler is the overlord of Europe. Churchill not willing to give in. On June 18th, he tells Parliament, "The Battle of France is lost. The Battle of Britain is on the threshold. Let us steel ourselves and behave as if even if the British Empire lasts for 1,000 years, they will still be able to say, this was their finest hour." His oratory was courageous, but in reality, the British commanders of the army have a grim secret. They're not prepared. Part 1. The storm gathers. The two air forces, Hermann Göring, Luftwaffe commander, sits comfortably in his richly furnished office, poring over maps. His air force has conquered every enemy thus far. He believes Britain will be no different. "My Luftwaffe will destroy the RAF in 4 days, he reports to Hitler. 4 weeks at most. He has good reason to be hopeful. The Luftwaffe has about 2,800 aircraft, Swift Messerschmitt, Beef 109 fighters, deadly Stuka dive bombers, and plenty of Heinkel and Dornier bombers. And his pilots are battle-hardened. They fought through the Spanish Civil War and never lost." Opposing this tremendous power is RAF Fighter Command, some 640 fighters such as Spitfires and Hurricanes. It looks on the surface like a massacre waiting to occur. But that's not the entire tale. In a humble office at Bentley Priory, Air Chief Marshal Hugh Dowding surveys his defenses. He is 58, autocratic and not very funny. People call him stuffy because they think he's perpetually gloomy. But Dowding has one thing the Germans do not: an innovative air defense system. Britain's coast is covered with radar towers, metal towers that spot German planes as they are flying over France. The information is relayed to filter rooms, where youthful women use markers to mark the planes on maps. Controllers later guide the fighters with precision no greater than what the average Bolt driver can do. "We don't need to defeat them everywhere," Dowding reminds skeptics at the Air Ministry. "We only need to force them to pay dearly for what they desire." Among the airmen, there is tension and determination. Geoffrey Wellham, aged 23, arrives at 92 Squadron, so youthful that he has yet to start shaving. "I was afraid," he remembers later. "We all were, but we could not afford to be." Al Deer, a tough New Zealand pilot, puts it this way: "We knew if we lost, Britain falls. If Britain falls, Hitler wins, so we couldn't lose. That's all there was to it." They're so young. Most aren't yet 25, some of them are teenagers. They smoke a lot, drink beer in the taverns, and write letters home trying to be tougher than they are. And they wait. The storm begins. July 10th, 1940. The Battle of Britain starts, unbeknownst to anyone. Convoy attacked by German bombers off the coast at Dover. RAF fighters, Spitfires from 74 Squadron, and Hurricanes from 111 take off in response. An idyllic summer morning suddenly becomes a war zone. Tom Neal remembers his first battle. One instant, German bombers dominated the sky, large black crosses on their wings. It was like being in a movie. Then the sky was full of bullets, and I just reacted. I stopped thinking and started reacting. The Kanalkampf, the Channel battle, is underway. Same routine week in and week out for 5 weeks. Germans attack ships and ports. RAF fighter aircraft scramble. Men are killed in the air over the channel. Bodies wash up onto the beach. Wreckage drifts in the surf. Losses accumulate. A few fighters here, a few bombers there. The day-by-day score of death. Pilots become unreal. They wake up early, fly several times, watch friends get killed, have dinner with them, and can't sleep. Some lie awake at night, waiting to hear the phone ring, which is scramble. Get to your plane, take off, and kill or get killed. You didn't fly too close to anyone, George Unwin remembers. Not that you weren't concerned, but because it hurt so much when they didn't fly back. And they didn't, hardly ever. The Germans lose more planes, but they don't let that stop them. New crews take to the skies over the channel. The pilots of the RAF become tired, wondering when they'd be able to stop flying. Then, in August, Hitler gives his order. The German Air Force is to master the English Air Force as soon as possible. August 13th, Eagle Day, is the day of the big raid. The pilots know what awaits them. They pen letters to their families, so they will not alarm them. They joke about the coming spectacle. They wait. Part 2. The hardest days. Eagle Day. August 13th starts with cloud cover. Goering delays the main attacks, but some of the formations depart anyway because some people are confused. German aircraft shell southern England all day long. Peter Townsend leads 85 Squadron into a formation of German bombers. There were more than 50 of them, he guesses. A huge formation of planes is cutting through the sky. I was shocked for a moment, then I was angry. These were the people who had come to bomb my country. I aimed at the nearest Heinkel and shot. His Hurricane trembles as the 8 machine guns rake. The bomber's wing is aflame. It dives toward the earth, trailing a skein of black smoke. Townsend isn't happy, just grim. One less bomber to bomb England. Across southern England, the story is told again and again. Spitfires and Hurricanes with young men on board attack German aircraft. Some die in flames, some parachute into the channel and drown. Some survive the day, land, refuel, and fly again. That evening, the Luftwaffe had lost 45 aircraft, and the RAF had lost a mere 13 fighters. It's a triumph, of course, but not one that feels like it. Pilots keel over in their planes, too tired to get out. Ground crew work all night, patching bullet holes and replacing engines. We were already very tired, says Aldir, and this was only the beginning. Black Thursday, August 15th. Black Thursday is the biggest German push of the entire battle. About 2,000 sorties, raids from Norway, Denmark, France, Belgium and the Netherlands. Goering pulls out all the stops. The Germans think RAF fighters are bunched up in the south, so the north of England is fair game. They couldn't be further wrong. When 100 bombers from Norway fly in over Newcastle with no fighter escort, they expect a cakewalk, but Spitfires and Hurricanes dive on them like wolves. Peter Townsend watches German Bf 110 heavy fighters, who are thought to be robust, being swatted aside by the RAF fighters. They fell like autumn leaves. Too easy. They could not turn, could not outrun us. We simply shot them down. 15 German aircraft are destroyed with very few RAF losses. The northern attack is a failure. In the south, it is harder to predict. Airfields are bombed heavily. Kenley, Biggin Hill, Manston and Tangmere are hard hit. Operations rooms are destroyed, telephone lines cut and staff killed. Women's Auxiliary Air Force, WWII. Plotters at Tangmere stand by their tables as bombs fall all around them. Some are killed. Those who survive, their faces white, go on plotting raids. They are just as brave as any pilot. At the end of the day, Germany has lost 75 aircraft, today being their worst day in the battle. The RAF loses 34 fighters. 2-1 is the kill rate, which shows that Germany is losing. For fighter command, the cost is high. Breaking point. Late August, pressure increases. New pilots come into the squadrons with barely any experience with Spitfires or Hurricanes, not enough to survive a battle. The majority are killed on their first mission, being shot down before they can even reach the enemy. David Crook sees a new pilot coming to his squadron. He was about 17, but he informed us that he was 20. Bouncy, excitable, scared. We took him out that afternoon, killed in 20 minutes. I never got his first name. The commanding officers age quickly. Some develop nervous habits, others drink too much. All of them guilt-trip themselves for sending young men to their deaths. Brian Lane entries in his diary, "Lost 2 more today. New pilots. Both were ill before they ever knew what was happening. I have to tell their parents that they were killed fighting bravely, defending Britain. The truth is that they were killed, frightened and bewildered, with no hope. This is what command is all about, pushing children into a meat grinder." The exhaustion is overwhelming. Pilots sleep during briefings, others tremble uncontrollably, others stare blankly, their minds elsewhere. Biggin Hill is bombed so frequently that flights are diverted to a village shop. Telephone cables are strung together with whatever they can use. Controllers control fighters from makeshift headquarters as bombs explode nearby. "We were hanging on by our fingertips," says WAF officer Felicity Hanbury. "We anticipated falling to bits daily, but somehow we didn't." Early in September, Dowding thinks fighter command is about to collapse. He doesn't know if they can keep going much longer. Then Hitler made a gigantic mistake. Part 3. The Blitz. Black Saturday, September 7, 1940. A warm late summer afternoon. The radar controllers at 4 p.m. spot something new. A huge raid. About 1,000 aircraft are soaring up the Thames estuary. Keith Park has all squadrons in the 11-group scramble. But controllers are confused. The raid is not heading to the airfields, but northwest for London. Before fighter command knows what is occurring, it is too late to stop them. German bombers arrive over London's East End and start their attack. Stan Smith, a dock worker, is working when the bombing starts. First we heard the sirens. Then this terrible noise, hundreds of motors. They filled the sky, black. Then the bombs. The noise was horrible. The world seemed to explode. London's greatest docks in the world are set alight like a burning furnace. Paint, wood, rubber and sugar warehouses are ignited. The heat burns with a life of its own. Fires rage up and down the East End slum streets, lined with tenements. Kids are stuffed into Anderson shelters, steel boxes buried in gardens, which is terrifyingly sinister. Others head to basements and underground stations. Some are left in their homes, cowering or stubborn enough to resist. By nightfall, 430 civilians are dead and 1,600 are badly wounded. Wide areas of countryside are ablaze. The fires prompt German night bombers, who keep bombing until morning. Jean Wood, 9, huddles with her family in their dugout. The ground vibrated beneath every explosion. Mum was crying, but not out loud. Dad was repeating that everything would be all right, but his voice was shaking. I was scared out of my wits. We all thought we would be killed. They survived the night. Many do not. For 56 consecutive nights, German bombers return. About 20,000 civilians die. Great areas of London are devastated. But this is actually good for the RAF. The turning point. By bombing London instead of fighter command airfields, the Luftwaffe gives Britain time to recover. Repair teams fix up the bomb craters. Communications links become re-established. Tired squadrons get a break. Keith Park realizes it at once. They've made a monumental mistake, he tells Dowding. If they'd kept bounding at our airfields another week, I don't know if we could have weathered it. But London, we can defend London. September 15. Battle of Britain Day is vindicating for Park. Morning is quiet, then about 11:30 a.m., radar detects huge groups of planes over France. about 400 planes in the initial wave, more to come. Park sends off all 21 squadrons. He also calls for assistance from the 12 group. All the fighters take off. Jan Zumbach, a Polish fighter pilot with 303 Squadron, is among them. We flew high, and then we saw them, dozens of black silhouettes against clouds. My blood was racing, but then I thought of Poland, what these Germans had done. I hated only. I dived at a bomber. The air is filled with numerous individual specks of the aircraft. The sky is one huge air battle. Bombers fan out, fighters hedge and turn, parachutes deploy in mid-air. Winston Churchill watches the battle from 11 Group headquarters, sitting in the operations room. As every squadron is marked as engaged on the board, he asks Park, "What reserves do we have?" Park replies curtly, "None." But the Germans do not know this. They experience wave after wave of RAF fighter planes. The few that Churchill mentioned appear to be limitless. Both sides are tired by the evening. The Luftwaffe has accomplished nearly nothing. The RAF claims, which are exaggerated at 185 German planes lost, are broadcast throughout Britain. The actual count is around 56, but it suffices. More importantly, the German pilots lose heart. They do not think the RAF has been beaten. They cannot imagine winning. The battle of wills is won. Part 4. Victory. The tide turns. From September 15th on, the war changes. There are fewer daylight bomber missions. The Luftwaffe begins using high-altitude fighter-bomber raids, single Bf-109s, with bombs on board, diving swiftly and away. They cause some damage, but prove they have lost. The Luftwaffe can't defeat Fighter Command. Hitler suspends Operation Sea Lion, the invasion of Britain, on September 17th. Without control of the air, it will be suicidal to take troops ashore on English beaches. The landing craft in French ports begin to scatter. Britain has survived it. Tom Neal remembers when they realized they had won. No dramatic announcement, just fewer and fewer German raids. We kept on flying, but the pressure eased. One day someone said, "I think we've done it." And we had. The battle ends on October 31st, though combat continues in November. The Blitz on London goes on until May 1941. But the terror of invasion is over. The cost. Statistics account for most of the story. July to October 1940. Luftwaffe 1,733 planes, 2,585 airmen killed or taken prisoner. RAF 1,023 fighter aircraft, 544 pilots lost. British civilians, more than 23,000 dead during the Blitz. Statistics don't tell the weariness, the fear, the loss, and the bravery. Geoffrey Wellham, who fought in the battle at 18, reported later, "People ask how it was. How do you describe it? The fear leading up to it, the chaos in the middle, the empty chairs afterward. The look on the lads' faces who were here yesterday and the day before disappeared today. We were so young. We thought we were hard and would never be killed. We found we weren't." Churchill understood. On August 20th, with the battle at its peak, he addressed Parliament. The gratitude of every home in our island, in our empire, and really throughout the world, goes out to the British airmen who are turning the tide of the World War by their bravery and their dedication. Never before have so many owed so much to so few. The few. The title stuck. Those boys who stood in the air between Britain and oblivion. Epilogue. Legacy. What it meant. The Battle of Britain was Germany's initial major defeat. Hitler's dream of hegemony was dispelled. Britain was left to be the base out of which the Allied powers might free Europe. It proved that courage can defeat a greater power, that an independent country can defeat a war machine, and that tyranny can be stopped. Al Deer lived through the battle and the war. Later he said, "People ask if we knew we were making history. We didn't. We were just trying to survive and defend our country. The rest is for others to write." But they did make history, one lad in a plane, by himself in the skies, choosing courage over fear, until victory was theirs. The pilots. A few of the few, including Al Deer, Tom Neal, and Jeffrey Wellham, survived the war. They lived out their years, carried memories that they could never shake, and went to reunions. Most were killed in later battles in North Africa, Italy, D-Day, and across Europe. Some never got over the war's psychological trauma. What we now call PTSD tormented them for their entire lives, in flashbacks and nightmares and guilt. But all of them came away knowing that they stood tall in a desperate time and that they fought and survived and prevailed. The end. The Battle of Britain was waged by young men in airplanes that appear to us today as primitive against an enemy who had bested everyone. And they won, for when the time came, they did not falter. Jeffrey Wellham said, "We were ordinary young lads in terrifying situations. We were scared most of the time. We made mistakes and weren't heroes, but we tried to do our job and survive. But looking back on it, I think we were doing something important. We kept the line, and nobody can ever take that away from us." The last pilot of the Battle of Britain, John Hemingway, died in 2020. But the story remains of the few who stood against the storm, who saved Britain and the world. Their freedom is their legacy. The world they preserved is their memorial. We will remember them.